Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode on a new week. And you hear it right. My wife is back. I know, guys, you missed her. I got 2 comments. They're like, oh, I told you guys what happened. She's back. She's back. And that person who come in like, oh, I like your wife voice better. Rude. But we're not going to talk about that. But my wife is back. But yeah, this episode is kind of a crazy one. Before we get into it, wife, tell everybody you back so they can be happy.
I'm back.
She's smiling so hard, guys. I mean, like, I know who y'all favorite are. I understand, like, second, it's okay. Like, even my daughter like her more than me, so, like, I understand. Like, her voice is better. I got that again, too.
Okay.
But this episode, I had to take notes because after I wrote it, I realized we may be working with a serial killer, right? And I'm like, I already know that when me and my wife get into theories, we're like, wait a minute, what's the dates of this person's death? So I wrote down my notes because theories gonna be a lot. And I feel like I need a whiteboard to help you guys out too. So when you hear it, I know you guys gonna go back like, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, trust me, I did a couple times too. Now let's get into the episode. Imagine being 7 years old and watching your parents have an argument that quickly turned violent. You see your father shove your mother through a plate glass window. Then you see him slam her head against a refrigerator. And sometime after that, your mother disappears. There's no suitcase packed by the door, no car leaving the driveway, no goodbye to the people closest to her, no phone calls to her family. No activities on her credit cards. It's almost as if she simply vanished. But here's what makes this case so unsettling. The person she lived with doesn't report her missing. Instead, there's a story why she supposedly left. A story involving another man. A story that at first could make it seem like she chose to disappear. But her family doesn't believe it. Because this woman had left before, and whenever she did, she reached out to the people closest to her. This time she didn't. Months passed before anyone officially reports her missing, and when investigators finally began looking into what happened, they discovered details that make the original story harder and harder to believe. There was a history of violence. There was a young child who remembered what happened inside their home. There was questions about what happened after that argument. And there was things left behind that didn't make sense if she simply decided to walk away. But the strangest part comes later. Because as investigators began digging into the life of the man she lived with, there were other people who had disappeared different years. Different circumstance, but one connection. And suddenly investigators weren't just asking, where one missing woman had gone. They were asking whether they had been looking at the same mystery at all. For more than 25 years, there had been no body, no confirmed explanation, and no answers for the family waiting to know what happened. So tonight, we're going back to the beginning, to the night everything changed, and we're going to try to understand what happened to the woman who walked into her home one night and never came back. This is the case of Diana Leon. Diana Leon was born on August 3rd, 1964. She was one of 6 children, and according to information shared about the case, she remained close to her family throughout her life. In 1981, when Diana was only 16 years old, she was introduced to David Dale Morgan. David was 50 years old at the time, making him more than 3 decades older than Diana. David was already an established businessman in Las Vegas. He owned and operated businesses, including a mini storage, and Diana eventually began working for him. Not long after that, she moved into his home. Over the years, Diana and David developed a relationship and eventually had 2 children together. Their son was born in 1986, and their daughter was born in 1992. From the outside, their family appeared to have a home and a business together. But according to police records and people who knew Diana, their relationship was extremely toxic. There is documented history of alleged domestic violence, and one of the most serious incidents occurred in 1989. According to police records, David returned home unexpectedly from an out-of-state trip. He accused Diana of being unfaithful, and during the confrontation, he alleged struck her repeatedly with a metal pipe. The records stated that David hit Diana on the right side of her face repeatedly and told her that he was going to kill her. Diana suffered severe injuries. She had 2 broken bones in her right leg, a fractured arm, and fractures to the bones on the right side of her face. She required emergency medical treatment and reportedly underwent reconstruction surgery because of injuries she suffered during the relationship. David was charged with attempted murder, but Diana refused to testify against him, and the charges were eventually dropped. This would not be the last alleged domestic violence incident involving the couple. David was later arrested to connection with additional allegations in 1997 and 1999. There was also a child endangerment charge in 1992. But when investigators later looked back at Diana's relationship with him, they saw what appeared to be a long-standing pattern of violence. Diana's family reportedly knew that she had left David several times over the years. When she left, she would contact her family and they would help her, but eventually she would return. That detail is important because after Diana disappeared, David's explanation was that she simply left him. The problem was that this time, Diana didn't contact her family. In February of 2000, Diana disappeared. The exact date of her last confirmed sighting has been reported somewhat different in various sources, but February 14, 2000 is commonly associated with her disappearance. Diana was living with David and their 2 children in Las Vegas, and then she was gone. There is no indication that Diana had planned to leave. She didn't take her car. She left clothing behind. She left money and personal belongings behind. She didn't contact her family, and she didn't contact her children. According to people close to Diana, that was completely out of character. Her family knew that Diana had left David in the past. They knew she was capable of walking away from him when the situation became unbearable. But when she left in the past, she reached out to someone. This time, there was nothing. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, and no one reported her missing. Eventually, one of Diana's family members contacted law enforcement in October of 2000. That means 8 months has passed since Diana was last seen. One of her sisters reportedly feared revenge from David and asked to remain anonymous. That detail gave us an idea of the fear surrounding David at the time. But there was another person who had a very different reason to be afraid. Diana's 7-year-old daughter. When investigators interviewed Diana's children, they received two different accounts. Diana's son reportedly told investigators that his father had said that his mother ran away with another man. David reportedly identified the man as someone named Tim. According to David's story, Diana had been having an affair and left Las Vegas with this man. But investigators looked into this claim and reportedly found no evidence that Diana had actually been involved in an affair with the man David described. Then investigators spoke with Diana's 7-year-old daughter. Her account was disturbing. The child reportedly told authorities that her parents had been arguing. She said the argument involved David accusing Diana of being unfaithful. According to her statement, David pushed Diana through a plate glass window in the patio area of their home. She then described David smashing Diana's head into a refrigerator. That account raised an obvious question. If Diana had simply decided to leave David and start a new life, why had her young daughter witnessed such a violent confrontation immediately before her disappearance? And why had Diana left everything behind? Investigators began to suspect that Diana had not left voluntarily. They also began questioning David's explanation. In November 2000, investigators obtained a search warrant for the home where Diana and David had lived. Police searched the residence, looking for evidence that might explain what happened to Diana. They did not find Diana's body, but investigators reportedly found blood on the carpet inside the home. Authorities did not publicly establish whether the blood belonged to Diana, so this piece of information remains uncertain. Still, the circumstances around her disappearance continued to concern investigators. Diana's belongings were still there, her car was still there, and her money was still there. Her children were still there, and there was no confirmed evidence that she left voluntarily. Detective Mark became heavily involved in the investigation. As he continued looking into Diana's disappearance, he began examining David Morgan's past. And that is where this case became much larger, because Diana wasn't the first person connected to David Morgan who had disappeared. To understand why investigators became suspicious of David, it is important to understand who he was. David Morgan was a wealthy businessman who owned multiple properties and businesses around Las Vegas. He was also involved in storage and moving industry and reportedly owned a lot of real estate. People who knew him described him as intelligent, successful, and intimidating. One former business partner described him as someone with a temper and someone you didn't want as an enemy. There was also allegation that David was involved in various questionable business activities, although those allegations did not result in a conviction. But by the time Diana disappeared, David was a very wealthy man and had a lot of influence. But investigators weren't just curious in his business history. They wanted to know whether there was a connection between David and other people who vanished. And that investigation took them back to 1979. Gabriel Vincent was 55 years old when he disappeared. Gabriel had connections to David Morgan because he rented a storage unit from him. According to information later provided to investigators, Gabriel had become involved with David's wife, Marie Morgan. Gabriel reportedly had photos of him and Marie together. According to Marie's sister, Kim Smith, Gabriel used those photographs and other materials in an attempt to blackmail David. If that account is accurate, David was mad. Then Gabriel disappeared. His disappearance in November of 1979. Gabriel reportedly left behind a 1970 Dodge van and never returned to pick up his final paycheck. At the time, there was no body and little evidence to explain where he went. Then came an allegation that would become important years later. Marie Morgan's sister Kim reportedly told investigators that David had confessed to killing Gabriel. According to her account, David said he ambushed Gabriel at the storage facility, shot him, and buried his body in the desert. David was never convicted of Gabriel's murder based on the allegation, At the time, investigators did not have enough evidence to prove what had happened. But then something even more disturbing happened. Gabriel wasn't the only person who disappeared. Marie Morgan was David's second wife. She was around 30 years old when she disappeared in 1980. Marie and David had 2 children together, but according to authorities, Marie had also experienced alleged abuse during their marriage. She reportedly sought help through the Women Crisis Center in Las Vegas. The center eventually reported her missing. Marie was last seen in May of 1980, and once again, David reportedly offered an explanation. He said Marie had left with Gabriel. Gabriel had already disappeared, and now Marie was gone too. Neither one has ever been located. Investigators will later receive another disturbing account from someone who was close to David. This time it came from his sister. David's sister, Dolores Morgan, reportedly came forward in 1980s and told investigators that David had confessed to killing Marie. According to Dolores, David had told her that Marie was going to leave him. She alleged that David had killed Marie and buried her in the Nevada desert. Dolores further claimed that David forced her at gunpoint to help him move Marie's body. She said that they traveled to an area along Highway 95. According to her account, Marie's body had been buried there. Dolores said that David later made her return with him to help cover the burial site. She attempted to lead investigators to the location, but she could not identify the exact site. Authorities searched the general area but did not find Marie's remains. Dolores died years later, taking whatever additional information she may have known with her. Marie remains missing.
But there was another disappearance connected to David Morgan. Donald Richard Cohen was a business associate of David Morgan. Donald disappeared in 1982. He was 40 years old. Donald had been involved in various business ventures and investments. Before his disappearance, he had reportedly been involved in an investigation concerning possible financial wrongdoing. Then he vanished. In 1979, his 1979 Cadillac was eventually found abandoned at the Stardust Hotel. The windows were reportedly rolled down. His briefcase and business documents were inside. His keys were still in the ignition, but Donald was nowhere to be found. Investigators later considered whether David Morgan could have been involved in Donald's disappearance. David's sister Dolores reportedly also made statements suggesting that she believed David had something to do with Cohen's disappearance. However, there was never enough evidence to establish that David had murdered Donald, and Donald's body was never found. At this point, there were 3 disappearances connected to David Morgan: Gabriel, Marie, Donald. Then nearly 2 decades later, Diana disappeared. When Detective Mark Redon began investigating Diana's disappearance, he started finding connections between these older cases. The similarities were disturbing. People connected to David disappeared. David often provided an explanation for why they were gone. In multiple cases, the explanation involved the person leaving with someone else. And in several cases, people who knew David later made allegations that he had been involved in their disappearance. But allegations weren't enough. Investigators needed evidence. They needed something physical, a body, and that was their biggest problem. There were no remains. Without a body, proving a homicide becomes significantly more difficult. Detective Redon reportedly understood that. He knew that if investigators could find even one set of remains, it could potentially change the entire investigation. Then, years after Gabriel disappeared, investigators found someone who claimed he knew exactly what had happened. His name was Fred Hackett. Fred had worked for David at the Abacus property. In 2006, investigators located him and interviewed him about Gabriel Vincent. According to Hackett, he had witnessed David shoot Gabriel. Hackett reportedly told investigators that David shot Gabriel at the storage facility. He also said that he helped David dispose of Gabriel's body. His wife, Avis, reportedly told investigators that she heard gunshots coming from the property around the time Gabriel disappeared. Hackett's account was significant because it appeared to cooperate some of the information Marie's sister had provided years earlier. For the first time, investigators had a witness who claimed to have personally witnessed the killing, but there was still one problem. They couldn't find Gabriel's body. In December 2006, investigators searched David Morgan's business property. They brought in equipment and began looking for possible human remains. Investigators reportedly used ground-penetrating radars and excavated portions of the property. They searched for evidence connected to Gabriel, Marie, and potentially other missing people. The search continued for days, but once again, investigators came up empty-handed. No bodies were found. No definitive remains were recovered. The desert still held its secrets. Then, in 2007, David Morgan was arrested. David was arrested and charged in connection with the alleged murder of Gabriel Vincent. It was a major development in the case that had been dormant for decades, but the prosecution had a difficult case to prove. David denied the allegations. His attorney challenged the credibility of Fred Hackett and argued that Hackett had his own reasons for accusing David. David was released on bail while the case continued, and then the legal process dragged on. Years passed. By 2012, Fred Hackett had died. He had been one of the prosecution's most important witnesses. Without his testimony, prosecutors faced a major problem. They could not simply tell the jury what Fred had said during an investigation. They needed evidence that could be admitted in court. In December 2012, the murder case against David Morgan was dismissed. David was never convicted of Gabriel Vincent's murder. He was also never charged with murdering Diane Leon, Marie Morgan, or Donald Cohen, and that meant the 4 disappearances remained unresolved. David Morgan lived for several more years. He died on November the 11th, 2018, at the age of 87. He died without revealing what happened to the missing people connected to him. If he knew where Diana was, he never publicly said it. If he knew what happened to Marie, Gabriel, or Donald, he never provided the answers their families needed. And that brings us back to Diana, because while the other cases are disturbing, Diana's disappearance had one particularly heartbreaking detail. Her children were there. Her 7-year-old daughter was reportedly a witness to the violence investigators believe may have occurred immediately before Diana disappeared. And that little girl grew up without her mother. There are several reasons investigators have believed Diana did not simply walk away. She left behind her belongings. She left behind her vehicle. She did not contact family members who she had contacted during previous separations from David. She left behind 2 children, and her daughter reportedly described a violent confrontation between Diana and David shortly before Diana disappeared. David, meanwhile, did not report Diana missing. Instead, he reportedly told people that she had left with another man. Investigators found no evidence supporting the idea that Diana had actually ran away with this man. Blood was reportedly found inside the home, and despite extensive investigation, Diana's body has never been recovered. So what happened? One possibility is that Diana was killed following the violent confrontation described by her daughter. Another possibility is that something else happened that investigators have never uncovered. We simply don't know. What we do know is that Diana has been missing since 2000, and her family has never received the answers they deserve. When we look at the cases individually, each one has unanswered questions. But when we put them together, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. Gabriel Vincent disappeared in 1979. Marie Morgan disappeared in 1980. Donald Cohen disappeared in 1982. Diana Leon disappeared in 2000. All 4 had connections to David Morgan. David was accused of violence. He was accused of murder. A former employee claimed to have witnessed one of the killings. A family member claimed David confessed to another, and yet none of the 4 people were ever found. David Morgan was never convicted of murdering any of them. So we cannot say that he was responsible as a matter of fact, but investigators considered him a prime suspect in multiple cases. And that is what makes these disappearances so disturbing. We don't know exactly what happened inside Diana's home before she disappeared. We know what her daughter reportedly told investigators. We know that Diana had a documented history of alleged domestic violence. We know she had suffered serious injuries in previous incidents. We know she had reportedly left David before. She normally contacted her family when she did. And we know that in February 2000, she disappeared without doing any of those things. That leaves us with one of the biggest questions in this case. Was the violent confrontation witnessed by Diana's daughters the last time Diana was alive? Investigators believe that was possible. But without Diana's body, they could never prove exactly what happened. Before we end Diana's story, I want you to remember who she was. Diana wasn't just a missing woman from a case file. She was a mother who had 2 children who loved her. She was a daughter and a sister. She was someone who, according to her family, had spent years trying to navigate a relationship that had become dangerous. She left behind the people who knew her best. For more than 25 years, Diana's family had been left without the one thing they deserved the most: an answer. If you have information about Diana Leon's disappearance, no matter how insignificant you think it may be, please consider reporting it to law enforcement or an established missing person organization. Sometimes information that seems unimportant to one person can be the piece that finally makes sense of everything for investigators. This is the case of Diana Leon. Now let's get into some theories.
Theories.
Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian Detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian Detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
So this case, I just have to ask, was this man in a mob or something? Like, he was just killing people, like, left and right. And the crazy thing about it, he would ask people to help him, like, move the body. And they would go and tell the police, like, hey, like, I helped this man, like, move this body. This is where the body was, but they never could find the body. But it's like, how many times people gonna come and say, hey, like, this man unalive somebody until you take it serious? Like, it's 4 people that he may have killed and y'all did not care, right? So that's the crazy thing about it. And it's just, first of all, Diana's a victim. Like, she was 16 years old when she met this man. And his wife went missing in 1980. He met Diana in 1981. So, like, dang, like, it wasn't a full year before, you had your next victim. And he went for Diana, just to be honest, because she was young and gullible. She's 16. He's 50. He got 3 decades on her. He know how to manipulate her. And it's sad to say that. And it's like she was getting beat so much. And it's like he could have went to jail for attempted murder, but she was so scared just to say, like, hey, yeah, this man almost unalived me. And also I feel so, like, it breaks my heart. Her daughter was there the last time he beat her. And the daughter said, like, yeah, my dad did all this to my mom. And I wonder, like, was it like a normal day for her seeing all this, right? And then it's just sad because this man, he had power. Like, as I was reading and looking into information, they said, like, this man had money. He was a millionaire and he had influence everywhere. So, like, it seemed like he didn't care about being caught. He really did it. Like, they finna charge him with a murder, and it took so many years that the person who the person who saw him commit the murder died. Like, what the crap? So we all know that he unalived these people, but it like the police did not care. Like, 3 people went missing. because of this man. A fourth person went missing. Put the pieces together?
They put the pieces together, but people can be bought.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if he's paying them, they're going to look the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear that he did it at the end of the day. But because he had money, he had power, he had influence, he was able to get away with it. Diana, she was 16 and she had been going through it. She would normally tell her parents whenever she would leave. But at the end of the day, she kept coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate because it did end with her losing her life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the end of the day, either she was gonna lose her life to him, but I feel like she would have had higher chances of surviving if she would have just left.
I agree.
And actually testified in court whenever they were trying to charge him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the end of the day, it becomes like this game. And if there was a point where they were going to charge him, everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing, but she didn't testify.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's this vicious cycle that she couldn't get out of. And he clearly had more money, more time, I guess. But yeah.
And it's just crazy. I just wish the police did charge him. Like, they had all the evidence. Even though she couldn't testify, you still, could have charged him with something. You know what I'm saying? Because he beat the crap out of her. It was proof that he did it. Like, they had a metal pipe. They had the DNA. Why didn't you guys charge him? Like, I feel like they made a case without her testimony.
Whenever they were going to charge him for attempted murder, that was the time to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
After that, there was no bodies. But it's like all of the bodies could not be found. So it was like, is he feeding it to pigs or alligators or something?
Mm-hmm.
Something is consuming the bodies because they try to search his property and they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, even his sister took the police where the body was and it was gone. She's like, yeah, I covered this body up with this man. I wonder, if wild animals might have got it, if you knew, coyotes are always here. That's another possibility, because how did the sister know, this body's going to be right here, but it was gone? Or he moved it?
He probably moved it whenever they were interrogating or asking questions about, certain people.
I know, it's just crazy how he just got away with it.
But he probably had an informant. Hey,
yeah,
they're going to go and look for so-and-so. You have a couple hours or whatever.
Yeah. He was paying somebody in the police department.
Somebody, yeah.
Because you could, and I think, I'll be honest, I think it might be more people out there. You think he just stopped, he killed 2 people back to back, a year apart. You tell me he didn't unalive more people, he took a break,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's probably more people. I don't know, this man probably was in a mob. He was doing some, activity. Even the, reports say, he was doing some illegal stuff with his businesses. So it's we don't know what he was doing. It's just sad that she was 16 years old and she met the devil and he unalived her. I wish she did run away and get the safety that she need, but I feel like as a mother, she wasn't gonna leave her kids. He groomed her. Let's just be honest. He groomed her. He got the control over her. For her to stay and get beat that much, I mean, it's just sad that what kind of damage she went through probably. And then he oh yeah, they just ran away. Knowing the type of person he is, you think he was gonna search and get that person, get his wife back? And the crazy thing about it, he couldn't even marry Diana because he killed his second wife, and she so-called ran away. He couldn't get divorced. He kind of needed her to get the divorce. He couldn't say oh, she's legally dead. No.
I mean, you can.
But he didn't do it. I feel like he probably want them looking into it. Guys, this case is just so much, and it's so sad that the police basically didn't care and they got paid off. I feel like this is a case that police got paid off. Las Vegas. This is our episode, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, please it's a free way to support us, and comment below and tell us, what do you think about this episode? If you listen to it on podcast platforms, please and give us a 5-star rating. This is Lesbian Detectives. Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye. See you next week.
Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, Lesbian Detectives.